It's going well on a Monday morning, so wonderful. So anyway, I'm James. Nice to see you. Despite this awful beginning, which hopefully I'm going to edit out once this is actually finished broadcasting, see proper live, brilliant. What we're going to do is we're going to try and sort of serve up to you every Monday morning, probably. Let's see how that goes, but that's probably going to be the case. We're going to serve up to you a series of ideas and prompts that might be really useful for our community of especially PE teachers, but users in more general might want to be aware of with regard to the platform, theeverlearner.com, and what they might want to be aware of in terms of facilities and things that they can do. And hopefully trying to, a lot of what I hear back from, especially PE teachers, James, we love the platform, but actually we want to get more out of it. We want to do more, use more of its features. So actually that's part of the reason why I'm doing this, if I can put it that way. So today, the purpose of today is I'm going to talk to you about 4 things. That's what I was trying to say earlier with that sign. 4 things which you might find valuable as a PE teacher. Maybe you're less familiar with, and I'm going to hopefully show you those things about the platform. So with that in mind, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully the sound will continue to work perfectly on this occasion. There we go. Shrunk me down to the corner. How wonderful. That is pretty. So what I want to do first of all is I want to show you 4 things that you should be aware of. And I'll locate them for you first. We're going to have a look at Revision 2026. We're going to have a look at PE Teacher Academy. And here, under Admin, we're going to have a look at Data Center and Centralized Assessments, which have actually moved. They're now under these places here, okay? So what I'm going to do is, within this particular session, I'm going to make an assumption that you are a teacher of one particular course, and I'll focus on one particular course. I'll choose AQA GCPE because it's the most numerous course. But obviously apply these principles to absolutely anything. So the first thing to notice here is the revision. But now, obviously, Revision 2026, it's still December as I broadcast this, so it's still early days, and some of the resources being developed at the moment for that. But if we click into Revision 2026, what you can do in here is you can see that your spaces for your course are now available for you for 2026. So, for example, if you were an AQA GCSE PE session, you see here what you've got coming up, and you've got your dates in here: Wednesday 6th of May 2026 and Wednesday 13th of May 2026, and both at 3:30. You've got a live show which is upcoming. There's me looking a bit ropey there for that date. And notice what you've got coming up. You've got student notes pages, teacher notes pages, mock exam. Mock exam, that's for actually setting it on the platform. I'm going to show you some elements of that and the mark scheme for that. And you've got that the same for paper 2. So that environment is there. You've also got the infographic, which is about to be sort of launched as well. So, okay, it's fairly empty at the moment, but the point we want to make to you folks is that you have got this available to you, and that's, a page to become aware of. And as these resources start to appear, and obviously we're building towards 6th of May and 13th of May in due course, those sessions, as well as their associated resources, are going to be posted here to you, and we urge you as teachers to be aware of those things. Okay, we think they'll be really valuable. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the dashboard, and I just want to mention, let me go back to here. I just want to mention a couple of things that I think are important about that first of the 4 sort of recommendations or highlights for you. The first thing I would say to you is that if you're a customer of the platform, obviously you've got access like my dummy teacher has here, you can rely on that. Okay, so that's the most important thing. You know that you're getting your classroom experiences into the student, you're getting our platform experiences into the student, and there you've got the revision experience. So in that pre-exam, in the run-up to the exams, you're going to have those experiences there. Now, in terms of timelines for those things, infographics will be available before Christmas 2025 or before the holidays 2025. The mock exams will be available in January. The notes pages for both student and teacher, they vary on course, but they'll arrive to you around about March, April time. And then, of course, the live shows go out in May. So you've got this whole experience of revision in there, which we strongly recommend. And you'll see some of the nature of the preparations of that in a few moments' time when I look at the second offer for you. So that's something you can rely on. And it should be stressed as well that your students have the equivalent button, or at least they will when we push it live. Your students, when they log into the platform, they themselves will have their Revision 2026 button up there. At the moment it says 2025, it's got the historical revision in there, but it will say Revision 2026, and your students can go and also take part in those sessions. So the things they don't have access to, unless you give it to them, are the teacher notes and the mark scheme for the mock exam. That's for you to sort of work with them on and make that, assuming you're a PE teacher, that you're going to do that. So there is feature number 1 of the 4. The second feature, and very much relates to that, because of course I've already talked about infographics, is I'll come back to this one, I'll do this one fourth. I want to show you what we mean by a data center. Okay, so if I go into data center here, it looks actually like a very similar page, right? But if you actually have a look in here, I have got data center here for let's say for AQA GCP, obviously choose the qualification which is relevant for you, but I'm going to choose AQA GCSEP. Now this is going to open. Let me just check this. I think it might have actually, yes, it is showing for you. Wonderful. This is going to show you here. I'll just make this a little bit bigger so you can see a little bit more clear. Let me just check that feed's coming through correctly there. It looks good to me. So a couple of things that I want you to be aware of here. You've got this document. This one happens to be for AQA GCSE. Obviously, it could be for any course that's relevant to you. We have pretty much air quotes all of them. But notice here, you've got a welcome. You've got a paper 1, you've got paper 2, obviously that's relevant for AQAGC. You've got a paper dashboard, you've got a summary year paper, you've got a summary skill, a summary marks, and a summary AO. Now, what people will often do when they use this particular data center is they will dive straight into the specification content. Okay, so for example, you go into paper 1, and you'll start to notice that in this paper 1, you've got every paper has been analyzed. Every paper is being analysed here, and what you can do within this environment is you can go down to any lesson, let's say antagonistic muscle pairs, and you can notice that it has been assessed mostly as an AO1 topic, a little bit of AO2, so giving examples, and your students need to be able to define, describe, and identify. So it's a topic that, you know, but that doesn't give us as much information as we've actually got here. I'll just give you one other before we move on. I always think this is a good one to look at. If we look at a real monster topic like components of fitness, if you start to think about what that information tells us, it tells us of 89 marks, we've actually got 42 of them from the justify command. So almost half of these marks is the most examined topic on the paper. Almost half of them come from the justify skill. Also, we should notice that whilst there is AO1 content, a lot of the content, the majority is actually AO3, and then the second amount, I think I'm right mathematically, is AO2. So what does that mean for us as a teacher? When we look at that row, for example, things we should be thinking are, how many lessons do I devote to this compared to, say, health and fitness? Is this a 1 lesson topic, a 2, a 3? That's a great question to ask ourselves. The second question is, if we know we have to build to the justify command, the justify skill, that's the majority skill, how do I get to that and spend the majority of lesson time on that particular skill? How do I do that? How do I go about that? And those exact things, which coming back to the revision, we have built into our revision as well. Other things to be aware of, obviously you do exactly the same for paper 2. There's all the paper 2 content. You can realise the importance of, again, justifying and classification of skill. You can realise the importance of sponsorship, and specifically things like the evaluate command, the analyze command, so the in there. By the way, just a little note of detail. If you ever see a difference here to here, this is because the paper 2 topic gets additional marks because it's a featured in extended writing. So what we mean by that is this is if you just kind of render out the raw marks that have been available for sponsorship is 38, but when you add up all the AOs that were available in things like extended writing, actually it's greater. But anyway, it's a little detailed point, but just so you're aware. Next thing you can do, folks, is you can go to your paper dashboard and you go, okay, I'm interested to analyze what last year's paper was like, 2025. You can go to here. By the way, this is going to take you to this tab here, but you can go to here, click here, and it will take you and it will show you that for this summer 2025 paper, question 1, 2, 3 down to 9.1, 9.2, etc., they're the topic areas, but also looking at the assessment objective distribution. Now, reasons this is important, if you look at the start of the paper, lots of AO1 and AO2, lots of AO1 and AO2, we start to drift into AO3 here, but basically the first half of the paper is lots of AO1 and AO2. The AO3 really starts kicking in from halfway through this paper. Okay, so you can start to guide students about the types of experiences they're going to have. You might want to work with them, for example, in terms of how, in which order to do this paper. You might be saying to them, for example, the first thing you're going to do is switch to your 6 and your 9 marker and read those questions. Don't answer them at the start, but read them and ponder them. And as you're working through, you might actually develop ideas about these 2 questions here. So anyway, lots of things that can be done there, but these are some of my favourite tabs. Have a look at this one, summary skill. In here, let's focus on paper 2 this time. We are seeing the distribution of command words for each and every exam and command. So for example, we can say, loosely speaking about paper 2, is that for students to be effective week by week in our classroom and therefore for the assessment at the end, they need to be good at identifying and stating and giving. That also includes multiple choice, by the way. There's a little bit of defining, but not a lot. They've got to be able to describe things. Most importantly, they must be able to explain things, and then we get a range of AO3 skills depending on the individual paper. And you might want to look at, if we just look at the last, let's just have a look at the last bunch of paper 2s we've got here. We've got the fact that on paper 2 in 2024 and in 2025, we've got a really substantial featuring of the discuss command. It's sort of gone up a little bit, and discuss was again prominent in 2022 paper 2. So you can say discussing is an important command for you to work with, for example. Maybe that's actually on the increase, one could argue. Other things, if we look at summary marks, this time I'll stick with paper 2. Look how sort of telling this is. Yes, it's important we work on 1 markers. Yes, we're going to get 2 markers, but that's where the bread and butter of the paper is. Yes, we're going to get a 6 marker, and maybe another example of that that's non-leveled. And yes, we're going to get a 9 marker, but here's the bread and butter of the paper in this case. There's nothing more impacting a student can do lesson by lesson with us as PE teachers as to practice 4-mark questions. And if we just look across this, again, here, 32 marks of 4 markers, 32 marks, 32 marks, 24 marks, 20 marks, 44 marks, real drop in 2024, 8 marks, and then back up to 20. So 4 markers are really, really important. So that's a skill we should be looking to develop. Now, this summary assessment objective, I think in some ways this is the least useful. But what we just want to look at is a picture here. What we can certainly say is that AO1 is most significant across paper 1 and paper 2. AO2 is second most, and AO3 is third most significant. Now, that could lead a teacher to believe, for example, that in order to do well on the paper, you need to focus on AO1. I think that's a bit of a false assumption. One of the things you should be considering is that doing AO3 commands unlocks AO1 and AO2 understanding and knowledge. So it's not that we necessarily want to overemphasize AO1, it's that we want to recognize, for example, when we do an evaluate question with students, when we do a discuss or an analyze question with students, we should be recognizing that that's unlocking these sorts of skills, these sorts of awareness. So for example, if you do evaluate a train, that would be here, wouldn't it? If you do and evaluate a method of training, that's going to unlock the features of a different method of training, examples of how you would use the different methods of training. It's going to unlock those things. So that's a good one for you to consider. Now I'm going to go back to the main platform here, and I'm also going to check that that is working. Yes, it is on my screen share. And I'm just going to come back onto the screen. So folks, the data center there as the second of the 4, that is a feature which I think is underused by our cohort of PE teachers at the moment. It's something I would really urge you to go and have a look at and invest your time in pondering, and it will also help you set, for example, good exams and good assessments. Now with that in mind, sip my coffee, a little bit of advertising here from Baget, which is a town in northern Catalonia. Marta, help me out here. It's in the Pyrenees, Baget. We went there in 2023, 2024. Your phone's ringing, Marty. But lovely town. If you ever get to the Pyrenees, we went there on holiday recently and had a really brilliant time. It's a magnificent place. So yeah, happened to have the mug. I'll give it a shout out. Baget in the Catalan Pyrenees. If you think I speak with a funny accent when I say Baget, my family's half Spanish. You're gonna have to forgive me for that one. So it just comes out that way. Anyway, nevertheless, let's go back into this. What is the third feature we want to be aware of? Well, what I would like to do here, folks, is share my screen one more time. There we go. And we're going to go back into the platform. And this time, what I want you to focus on is admin, miss data center, and come down to centralized assessment. Hey, James, it looks very, very similar. It does look similar. We use the same page formats for these same things. First of all, if you're doing a course that we haven't got to yet, sorry for that, at XLA level, Cambridge OCR Technical, for example, please be aware that we are building these over a period of time and we'll get these out to you. Well, I'm going to focus on AQA GCSE PE, and I'm going to focus it here on paper 2. Okay, and if I open this, it's going to open a new tab. Let me just check that I've got that on my screen. I have. And what I'll do is I'll just zoom in here onto this so you can see what it is. This is a recommended centralised assessment model for AQA GCSE PE, in this case paper 2, okay? Now, I'm not going to go too much in the detail of what's written in here, but just to give you the big picture, we're saying here, welcome. The aim of this is to improve the core assessment experiences of your students, to provide a reliable grab and go assessment model that you can use with real impact, and it should be very little planning time required for the teacher. The other thing is it should give you in-game data that you can help improve your students' performances. So a bit more about what the pack contains, some considerations. I'll encourage you to read that in your own time. But really, the money shot, as it were, we get down to this here. This is our recommended paper 2 assessment model. Now, I'm going to be cautious to show it on screen too much because it's got some value to this. But what I want you to notice, for example, is that core assessment 1 through to 9 with a mock exam at the end. So we're recommending 10 exam experiences for the students on paper 2. I want you to recognise, for example, that extended writing kicks in from the very second version of this. And the third thing I want you to realise is that whilst core assessment 1 here features skill and ability classification and SMART targets, that's what's included, I want you to notice that core assessment 2, which is info processing and feedback, it also interleaves back to classification of skill. Notice that when we do motivation, personality, etc., it interleaves back to classification of skill. Why? Why would we do that? Well, if we go back to our data center, what did we say about classification of skill? It's an where's it gone? It's an absolute monster topic that needs to be practiced. Again, it's an evergreen topic. It's on every single exam paper, and that's something that we need the students to be really, really familiar with. So we'll go back to that principle. Let me go back to here. So you can see that there. And you can see here, the second thing is we've got those 9 core assessments. And the other thing, goes down to the second page, other thing here is we're given details of how we think the exam should be set. So let's focus on this one. Contains new knowledge on info processing and feedback, interleave with previously learned knowledge on skill. This is classification of skill, commonly assessed topic. Identify and justify skills feature here, as well as the first extended writing question with the analyze command. So we recommend it in practice exam. Use the sporting examples blog. I mean, you can obviously click onto that and go and have a look at that. It's here. Let me go back. Didn't mean to do that. And let me just go in a little bit further here. And also, it's the first example of a 9 marker, so therefore it's got synoptic elements in it. And I won't go too detailed into that, but we're giving you a framework and a guidance. Now, if I go back to the platform here, folks, it also is worth bearing in mind, and this isn't what I'm going to show you today, I'll do this in a different session, but if we actually go into the exams part of the platform, and I look to set an exam, and I select my group, I'll choose, where are we, this one here. I'll choose AQA, GCSE, PE. I can literally choose that exam. It features here as an core assessment. Why have I spelled it wrong? Mine was core assessment number 2. And here you go. I've got core assessment number 2, information processing and feedback. I have got here the questions that are featured in that paper. I've got in here that I can look at this 3 marker and see what the 3 marker is asking. I can go and have a look at the mark scheme for that. I can go and have a look at the 4 marker, crucial as we've seen already for paper 2. I can go and have a look at the 9 marker. But long story short, I'm going to select that exam and I'm going to say to my students, right, we're doing it as a practice exam because that's what was recommended on the assessment model. And we're going to do that exam. Let's say that my students are having a go at this on Wednesday and my lesson's 10:15 till 11:15 on Wednesday, and the students are going to do that exam with me in there. There's a minimum score of 50%. If they don't get 50%, maybe they're doing it again. And I'm going to say this is an in-class Wednesday exam on new skill acquisition material, but also linked back to the classification of skill topic. I should have written that in advance, sorry. Now I can set that exam, and just to be clear what's going to happen there, that exam is going to open on Wednesday morning, and the students are going to, in this case, answer that exam online. Obviously, you could do it as a printed paper-based exam, absolutely no problem at all. Notice as well that you as well have got access to the printed exam. If you want that in hard copy, it's there waiting for you, ready to go. Okay, so you're ready to go in that sense, exactly the same with the mark scheme. So the point I want to make here, folks, is not so much exactly what exams that you should be making or exactly what you should be thinking about, but the point I want to make is you have got a designed assessment model based on, guess what, the exact requirements of the exam. And that's something that I think all PE teachers should, using our platform at least, should become familiar with and aware of. Because if you're not aware of it, then you're not going to use it, obviously, by definition. If you're aware of it and you don't use it, that's up to you. If you've got a killer assessment model, that's up to you. But that's a great option, I would argue, as at least a base premise that people can work from or compare their model to, or whatever it happens to be. Now, that's 3 of our 4 features today. I also showed a bit of exams. 4th feature for today. Okay, what I want to do here is I want to go back on the screen share. I promise you I'll end this broadcast and end everyone's misery. But just go back to the platform here. If we just go back to dashboard, this is where you'll arrive when you're a teacher, folks. I want to show you the PE Teacher Academy. Now, this PE Teacher Academy is a new feature from September 2025. It features here and it features here. Before we go into the Academy, I just want to show you the record of achievement of Dr. McGonigal. Dr. McGonigal, bless her, has qualified on classification of movement skills, metacognition in PE, questioning techniques in the PE classroom part 2, and she's underway with a whole series of other courses. So, for example, if we go into this one here, you can see that she's actually qualified on this course, and she could even download this certificate, which if I go into here, you'll see that Dr. McGonigal, when this certificate download eventually materializes for me, there's her certificate, ready to go, ready to print, ready to go into the CV, ready to be part of that next job application, or just for the peace of mind that you've studied and become good at something. But that is there waiting for you to be used. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's fine, James, but what the hell is this stuff? So if we go back to PE Teacher Academy here, what I want you to be aware of is that this, obviously, school is enrolled and Dr. McGonigal is using this. I want you to notice that Dr. McGonigal right now is studying Introduction to Remembering and Forgetting in the PE Classroom. She's got 2 other spaces because you can study 3 courses at a time. This is her CPD environment. So, for example, if we go down to here, it might be, and you can search for courses in here or you can scroll through them here, but it might be that this particular teacher is interested in Rosenshine's principles. She can look at the course details of Rosenshine's principles of instructions applied to PE, and she can have a look at that course. She can go and look at the free lesson, and what she can do is she can reactivate that course in there. So now you see, you'll notice that in the previous sittings, she's watched 2% of the videos. She's tried checkpoint 1 and she's tried checkpoint 2, but she's not met the passing standard yet. And those courses there. So, for example, let's say that she's interested in going. Obviously, you'd like to think that she'd go and do the principles, and then she'd do the core principles for knowledge acquisition in PE theory. Then she'd go on to topic 2. But let's say she's interested in presenting new information in PE. She can go into this lesson. Here's the lesson. It's a 10.5-minute lesson. Notice up here she's not watched this. I'll click in this. I believe
regardless of whether you work in a
sounds
classroom that looks like that, or like that, or like that, or like that. And I did that one last because that looks a bit like the one I work in.
But the point I want to make here is, I'll just actually mute that a second. The point I want to make here is that as McGonigal progresses through that video tracked at the bottom, notice here that she's got 2% of viewing. Okay, if we go back to the course, here, you'll notice she's got 2% of viewing. Also, you'll notice here that there's, in this case, I've got 5 lessons to cover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll notice I've got 2 checkpoints to complete. Checkpoint 1 will have 12 questions in it. It will be a 10-minute assessment. And it will ask Dr. McGonigal about foundations and principles. Checkpoint 2 is all about, same scale, but this time is all about the application. And this is where I really want to draw your attention. I'll start doing a couple of questions so you can see what's going on here. This has obviously all been taught in the actual lessons and what have you. But I want you to notice that this here is applied into the PE environment. Okay, so I'm going to say I do. Here, this one, here's a PE teacher saying what they're doing in their GCSE PE lesson. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to say that that's direct instruction. Here, they're saying when problem solving is required. There we go. This, oh my God, that's a picture of me worryingly. Something pull PE information out of the brains of PE students. That is actively doing it. Here, oh my God, it's me again. Actively pull PE information out of the brains. Here, we've got a model of daily weekly review. And I would answer this question hopefully better than I am now. And I'm going to do another one here. I'm almost certainly wrong because I'm not even reading the questions. Here, I'm going to say that is you do. Here, chained instruction. Here, working memory. Here, have a look in here. I'm going to say that that is talking over images. Here, cognitive strategies. And there, you see I've scored this on the assessment. I can go and review my answers and get all my feedback that's in there. But I'll go back to the course and you see here now that I'm getting there on that assessment. Okay, I'm getting there. I've not passed the standard yet, but I'm getting there. I've turned it orange. Now, just to be clear what you need to do, to qualify on this, you need to do 90% of the video content. And you need to score each checkpoint at 80% or above. Okay, and you can do those checkpoints many times as you want. It's different each time, different questions each time. But that's how we qualify in that Teacher Academy. What that means, folks, is that in year after year, successive years, you see here in 2025, you will have a record of your ongoing CPD. That is provable, demonstrable, it is relevant, and most importantly, my friends, can I stress to you, there is not a course in here, and by the way, our available courses are in curriculum, subject knowledge, cognitive science, pedagogy, course design assessment, all related to PE. There is not a course in here that does not relate to PE teaching. This is not a generic model that science or history teachers, bless you, we love you dearly, you lot, but this is not for them. This is for us as PE teachers. This is for us to learn these skills, these awarenesses in our classrooms and apply them, one would like to believe. So, folks, that, in my opinion, as a fourth opportunity, is one that we would really urge you to go. Now, again, you might not know what our platform is. You might not realise that the 4 things I've just shown you are not the core behaviour of our platform. Those are add-ons. I mean, literally, you get them as sort of bonuses. I should caveat, PE Teacher Academy is a paid add-on. All the others just come with the subscription. But the point I want to make is, if you're using the everlearn.com and you want to go from here to here, to here in terms of its impact, usage, application, those are 4 to begin with ways that you could go about doing that. So I thought I would demonstrate that live today. I'm hoping that as we do these things more regularly on a Monday morning, that's the plan, and delivering these out to you, I'm hoping you guys can interact with us. You can ask questions, perhaps you'd even ask a question in the live, but you can certainly ask a question via YouTube. We'll answer it, obviously communicate with us via any other channel, whether that's Instagram or X or LinkedIn or direct email if you have our access to the contact page on the website, theeverlearn.com. Feel free to do that. But hopefully those are some useful kind of contributions to what it is you're looking to do, what it is you're looking to maximize, what it is that you're looking to improve on in your own use of the platform. And if you can do 1/3 of what I've just shown you, is like, you might decide the thing you want, cherry pick, the low hanging fruit for you is that data center. Go use it, it's there. You might decide, right, I want to compare our assessment model to the centralized assessment model. Go do that. I want to start booking in those dates to do those live shows in May, and I want to be looking out for that information as released. Go do that. I want to be getting my team involved in the PE Teacher Academy. Go do that. You don't need to do it all at once. It could be that you cherry pick that low hanging fruit and decide which is most relevant to you, but that's the very reason I want to share these particular sessions with you. So I'm going to end the broadcast there after a ridiculously poor start to the broadcast, which I'm going to have to go and edit because I really messed it up. But for anyone who hung in there with me, thank you very much. For anyone that picks up on this as a recording, thank you very much for watching too. We appreciate you, and I'm going to wish you a wonderful week and day.